Hello guys, welcome to the Trading Parrot. Yesterday we were 0.12% away from causing a capitulation event from the miners. In today's video we are going to look into detail on that. What does it mean to get a capitulation event, particularly when the price is going higher? Is this going to jeopardize our chances of breaking above 65k? We're going to look into the past cycles to understand what happened 4 and 8 years ago. Did we get something similar? What should we be expecting for October if that happened? Of course, I'll give you an update on what's going on with the breakout on the daily time frame. I'll do an analysis on volume in the past 6 months of Bitcoin. We have some good developments in here worth celebrating. I want to share it with you guys. And I'm also going to give you an update on the 4-hour because we are dangerously testing the support. I want to share with you what could be good, bad, or ugly if we broke down below this level of support. Guys, if you like this type of content, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I put out one of these videos. And we continue to get over 150 likes in every single video about Bitcoin. I really appreciate, guys, if you hit the like right now without forgetting. It will be really awesome if we make the next move, which is to sustain over 200 likes in every single video. Let's get into the content. We continue to stay behind this massive pool of liquidation that starts from 65k and ends almost at 67k. Below the price, there is nothing as substantial as what we have above us. And by looking at the 4-hour RSI, you can see how the battle is going. Today, we've been fluctuating support and below support at different hours. I've been sharing that on my Twitter, Telegram, and Instagram by the hour to make sure that you're updated. Make sure that you're following me. The links are in the description. And I think as long as we hold here on the 4-hour, the chances of continuing to battle this resistance are still very high. Things are going to change dramatically, of course, if we lose this area on the 4-hour. That could delay a little bit further our expectation of eventually causing some heavy damage to the disgusting amount of shorts that they are right here. The battle is getting heavy and we keep accumulating bearish divergences. You can see these red dots in here are all coming from market cipher. We now have even equal highs, which is also a bearish signal, but we need to make the right reading of all these bearish signals. Typically, when you're facing resistance, the price struggles a little bit to break the resistance, particularly if that resistance is a very heavy one. But consolidating below the resistance increases the chances of eventually breaking it. And what we are currently seeing is that we hit it, then we hit it again, then we try once again, we come back to support and we're getting squashed. And I think we just need to try a few more times and we have very high chances of breaking it. If we look now at RSI on the daily time frame, we can also see that we are holding this local support in here. We talked yesterday about an RSI 58 that has moved up slightly to RSI 60 is now our current support. And you can tell that day by day, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row that we are creeping up above that support, every day getting closer, knocking on that resistance at 64.7 to be more precise, which we already failed on the Trump pump that happened on the 23rd of August. But I want to celebrate today as well that we are not just back below the range. Remember, we lost it in here, this blue line formed by the volume profile, but we are also now above the point of control. That is this horizontal red line that represents the area where there has been the most trading. And from the point of view of the volume, being above this red line is bullish, being below is bearish. So you can poke your shoulder to celebrate just a tiny bit this small victory. Whales are starting to look sideways, and this is not just on the big whale explorer, but also the long-term holders are kind of going just sideways since the 3rd of September. They are not necessarily distributing, which is something great. or at the very least, the amount of distribution versus accumulation is kind of going even. And an update on our breakout from the W bottom formation reversal with a target to 80.6K is that every single day we continue to hammer 64.7 without being able to break above it. To be honest, it will be really amazing to see the breakout and continuation. That will make things so much easier, but we need to also be prepared potentially for a failed attempt and maybe later managing to break above 65K. If we were to do something like that, ideally we want to see that we don't lose this trend line, meaning that we continue to put higher lows, keeping the battle against 65K still very likely. Something that's really bullish that is currently happening now is that we are breaking our support on the dollar index. You can see that the previous week we were below it for a few days and got bought up. And right now we are in the process potentially of putting a new low, which is bearish for the dollar and quite bullish for most of the assets. Gold put a new all-time high yesterday, and if we go 4 years back in time to the equivalent year based on the halving events, we will be somewhere around here, September 2020. There were rate cuts around that time. Prior to that, gold was having an amazing rally that ended on 10th of August. After the rate cuts, gold started putting new lows. And what you can see is that Bitcoin mimicked the rally of gold, but delayed by 180 days, pretty much half a year after. And I'm not saying necessarily that is the timing that we should be expecting for Bitcoin now to potentially mimic once again the rally of gold. But I will be paying a lot of attention to see when should we be expecting gold to top out, finally put a blow off top all-time high and start putting new lows on the weekly time frame as well, because that will make a lot easier to speculate when can we start mimicking that with Bitcoin as well. This is past performance. It doesn't need to play out like that. There's a lot of things that make different this scenario from the macro perspective, geopolitical tensions, the previous time we had COVID, but I tend to pay a lot of attention to this pattern on gold. I am looking, as usual, for a breakout of gold below this trend line. That is going to give us the clues that this is going on and that we should be expecting Bitcoin to start following up with what gold has already done. As soon as I see a breakdown below this trend line, I have an alert and you will be the first one to know when that happens if you are following me in one of these 3 social networks: Twitter, Telegram, Instagram. All of them are in sync, providing you with timely updates, not just on crypto, but with general markets and indexes as well. The S&P has been putting new all-time highs, and I'm closely monitoring the breakdown and a potential rejection from this line in here at an RSI of 65 on the weekly. I'm particularly interested to see that rejection because that could mean something bad for crypto. If we were to do something like this on the RSI, of course, crypto is really gonna suffer, and then we should be prepared to say goodbye to October and November, which are typically bullish months. I think that is low likely to happen, but it's better to keep an eye on these charts, particularly on the RSI that tends to tell us the story before it happens. Contrarian to that, if we were to see a breakout on this area, that will mean that we will be forming an uptrend channel shifted one level down compared to staying in here, which would have been more bullish, to be honest. But that could mean that we are going to resume a strong uptrend on the S&P. And that is precisely what we want to be seeing for continuation of this bull market. If you focus on this area of Bitcoin in the previous market, the equivalent year, we will be in 2020 having a shake off in there and then a new rally straight up. That is what was needed for Bitcoin to do the same as well. And yes, guys, I want to talk about the hash ribbons. This indicator tracks not just the price action, but also the hash rate of BTC. Very recently, we have a capitulation event and we had a buy signal on the 3rd of July at 67.8K. And that has been one of the buy signals from hash ribbons. That has been one of the most painful buy signals that we have seen in history, giving us a drawdown of 28 28% almost. Make no mistake, because even if you have big drawdowns on these buy signals, like for example in here that we went 16% down, or on COVID that after that we had a rally but then we had a drawdown of 45%, still the price eventually starts catching up and going higher. And the reason I want to talk about this today is because yesterday we were about to get a new capitulation signal at a price of 63K. And people were asking me on our Telegram community, how can we be having a capitulation event if the price is going higher? And actually, I wondered that myself as well. How is Hashribbon calculating these things to decide that we are about to have a capitulation? And yes, I understand that the hash rate has been going down in average in the past few weeks. I get notified of these things on my email and Telegram, so I'm well aware that the hash rate has been coming down. But is this normal? Has this ever happened at an equivalent time in the previous cycles? To answer that, I'm gonna focus on the capitulation that we have on the 29th of October of 2020. That's 4 years ago, the same timing in the cycle that we had a capitulation and the price was going higher at that point. And if you notice, right after the capitulation event, the price continues to go higher. Eventually, there's some drawdown on November of 15%. It looks very small in the chart, but it's 15%. Right after that, you get these green bubbles, and on December, you get the buy signal. If you look at the lower end of the chart, you're gonna see the hash rate. This is the hash rate published by Into the Block. And you can tell that the hash rate was coming down at the time that there is the capitulation. Going into the future, we had a drop in the hash rate as well with the capitulation here. It even went lower in this area in there with a second capitulation. And more recently, on 11th of September, the hash rate did a significant drop as well. That's why the hash ribbon was closing the MAs. But it seems to be that in 2020 and also in 2016, in Septembers and Octobers, we get that capitulation even if the price is going higher. And after checking on those things, I started feeling a little bit more comfortable to hearing the word capitulation at a time when we're trying to actually break above 65K, crush the shorts, and get to continue with this bull market. Let me know in the comments if you think that this is a good thing or a bad thing. And one thing that I'm noticing on fire charts is that the ask liquidity has reduced significantly since we reach closer to 64K. And to me, that sounds very promising because it means that they were very convinced that it's the right thing to do to short 65K. You can see there with 75 million, which is quite substantial. As the price continued to stay at these levels, they reduce that liquidity from 75 to 63 and then to 50, which is what we have right now. It will be really great to see in the upcoming days that liquidity to continue to reduce, just like we are seeing at the top of the range at 70K, when we went from 80 million and now there's barely 52 million. What will be really great is to see the opposite on the bid liquidity, to start seeing that this 67 at 50 gets moved higher. We can see in here, but with a lot more conviction, meaning more volume. I want to see right at 60K instead of 14 million holding us. I want to see a chunk of 80 million holding us, similar to what we had in this impulsive move with 93 million, making a move of 180% on Bitcoin. We don't have that yet, and I guess we're gonna have to arm ourselves with a little bit more patience to start seeing those events playing out. Yesterday, we were talking about the open interest being extremely high, and what we are seeing today is the open interest getting a little bit hammered, and the longs are pulling back, and that is a good thing. We want to see some pullbacks, but remaining right next to that 65, telling investors the story that the shorts are at risk, because that is gonna not just cause more conviction from the longs, to add more liquidity to buy more from spot, but also the shorts are going to start closing their positions, increasing their fear that they might get wrecked, potentially taking a break even or a small loss every time a short is closing a position because it lost the hope that they're gonna get an actual dump from 65K. That position that gets closed turns into an actual market buy. And by the way, talking about the miners, if you don't believe me that miners were at stress because the hash rate went down, it currently costs 74.4K to mine one Bitcoin. And the price of Bitcoin has been roughly 63.2K. Jay is saying, you're telling me you can buy BTC for cheaper than it costs to mine? Yes, and that is the source of the stress from miners. Potentially, this is what's causing that hash rate to go lower. Interestingly, those events happen at the same timing in the previous two cycles, in 2016 and in 2020. I'm just hoping that this time is no different, and if we see that capitulation, it's a capitulation from a higher price. Let's say we break above 80K and then we get a retracement of 10%. That wouldn't be a bad thing if it happened somewhere in October or November. Guys, I'm currently hosting a position airdrop on Bybit. You trade with $100 and they give you 500 additional to trade any of the coins in this page. Have a look at the top link in the description. You have to click on it to activate the promotion and to see the instructions. I also have a referral link in the description. If you use that one to open a new account on Bybit, you can claim up to 30,000 in rewards. It's also worth mentioning that if you do have a Bybit account with my referral link, you can then later create an account on the Trading Parrot, connect your Bybit account, and claim access to any of the memberships in the Trading Parrot community. With that, you can access hundreds of different indicators and advanced bot tools. Make sure that you join my Discord server, have a look at the strategies, and head down to Bybit Free TTP, where you're gonna find all the instructions to claim your subscription for free, including how to transfer your referral to my referral, how to get a Palau residence card, which is currently accepted by Bybit to open an account from pretty much anywhere in the world. I'll see you there. Bye bye.